the hidden reason your deadlift stalls and how to fix it. In this video, we're going to talk about the #1 reason that holds people back with their deadlift progress, that they hit a plateau with. And the #1 reason, after nearly 20 years of coaching athletes in the deadlift, is their hips rise before their upper back. So why is that bad? Why is it inefficient? What happens when the hips rise? So imagine we've got somebody deadlifting, we've got the head up this end, the hips down this end. What I'm talking about is the hips rise, then the upper back rises, whereas it should be in unison or together, and then it comes through as the bar starts to move. But why is it bad? As soon as your hips kick up, you are putting all of the load on the posterior chain. You're not putting any load through your quads. I like to think of the deadlift to start with a bit of quads, then we look at the posterior chain getting a little bit more involved. You don't want to load just one muscle group. It's inefficient. Why would you want to load just your posterior chain when you can use your quads and your posterior chain? Doesn't make sense. The only athlete that has done this and hit world records or had success is Benny Magnusson. But success, in my opinion, does not leave clues here, because his form, unfortunately, in my opinion, was that inefficient. If you look at his deadlift side on, he's doing a Romanian deadlift as the bar comes to the knees. It's inefficient to do a Romanian deadlift compared to a normal deadlift. You would not choose to do a stiff leg deadlift or Romanian deadlift over a normal deadlift if you were trying to lift the most weight possible. So that gives you a clue. Sometimes you have to ignore what the best athletes or world record holders are doing, or at least analyze what they're doing so you can understand, is this going to work for me or is this going to work against me? So how do you fix it? You've got two things that you need to tackle. #1 is motor pattern or technique. The other one is muscular weakness. These things go together. They go hand in hand. You're not going to have one and then the other. You need to look at both. I've had it with athletes. We tested them. Their quads presented as weak. So we trained their quads, but still the technique in the deadlift wasn't looked at. It didn't improve. Therefore, it didn't transfer. You need to look at blending both. So you need to strip everything back and then work forward. So with technique or motor pattern, the first thing you need to look at is the hip starting point. I call it the biting point. It's like the biting point on a clutch. So if you drive a manual car, you need to have it at the correct starting point. If it's too low, your hips are going to shoot up anyway. If it's too high, it's just going to look like a stiff leg deadlift. So it's like a happy medium. It's like the Goldilocks Principle. We don't want it too low, we don't want it too high, we want it just right. One of the quotes that sticks in my mind there with certain athletes, it was from Andy Bolton, and he said, you can't squat a deadlift. Seems obvious, but a lot of people have their hips too low, like a squat. You want it in between stiff leg deadlift and full squat. You want it literally at a half squat if you want that correct biting point. If you don't know where the biting point is, film yourself side on. When you look at yourself side on, if your hips rise and kick up, it could be that you're just starting too low. So the first thing to look at with regards to technique is make sure your hips are not too low and not too high. When it comes to improving technique and motor pattern, one of the best things I've used with my athletes is slow concentric work. A lot of my athletes hate me for it, but I don't care because they get better. But we use a tempo, and it's 5-0, 5-0, or with the deadlift it would actually be 5-1, 5-0. What that means is you're going to lift from the floor. You're going to take 5 seconds on the way up. No seconds at the top, 5 seconds back down, 1 second dead stop on the floor. And you're going to do that for 3 to 5 reps. If your technique is not perfect with a sub-maximal weight doing this, you have no business loading up the weight just yet. Spend 2 to 3 weeks improving your technique with this motor pattern and this controlled approach, and you'll reap the rewards later on. The reason it works is you can make small adjustments as you go because you're moving under control. A lot of the time you're lifting explosively, boom, the lift's over before you've even blinked. You can't make any adjustments. With the 5-1, 5-0 tempo, you can make those adjustments. Another technique would be 1 1/4, where you perform the quarter first. So you're going to lift the bar up off the floor to around mid shin, control back down, dead stop on the floor, then explode through. The idea or the concept or the principle that I espouse is, if you want to get strong there, you've got to spend time there. You're weak off the floor, So therefore, if you do an extra quarter at the bottom, it can improve your technique and obviously reinforce that hip starting point that you've just adjusted. Next step after those two repetition types would be eccentrics. A lot of guys think that the deadlift is an eccentric-less movement. Yes, in competition, in strongman, powerlifting, you don't need an eccentric, but it's a lift like any other. So by incorporating eccentrics, and what I mean is supramaximal eccentrics, so lowering the weight without any lifting, can then enhance performance later on, but it can also enhance your technique. So use slow eccentrics, use eccentric only, then look to incorporate speed once the technique and motor pattern has improved. So we've gone through motor pattern, we now need to go through muscular weakness. The weakness, as I alluded to already, is quads or quadriceps. It's leg drive. It's easy to figure out. If your hips are kicking up, your knees are extending back. The body will go away from its weakness to find its strength. So with your knees extending, it's putting tension on your posterior chain, your glutes, your hamstrings, your lower back, and off the quads, because it's telling you you're too weak to be able to handle this movement. So how do we deal with weak quads with regards to deadlifts? The simplest way is to start incorporating deficits. Deficits could be anywhere from 1 all the way up to 4 inches with a clean grip, but you could also do snatch grip. Snatch grip could be from the floor, or you could also incorporate both where you do snatch grip on a deficit. One of the most bang for your buck deadlift variations, if you've got the mobility, is snatch grip on a 4-inch podium, 4-inch deficit. But adding in deficits, whether it's in a Norwegian program and you're doing 2 different deadlift variations a week, one from the floor, one from deficit, or it could be in a conjugate, and you would actually incorporate that into your neural day and or your speed day. Your speed day doesn't have to just be from the floor. Your speed day can be slight deficits as well. You don't want to just do one motor pattern. You don't want to just deadlift from the floor over and over again. The research is quite clear on this, and Franz Bosch talks about it in a lot of his writings. You want to do movements that are similar that transfer over, not exactly the same. So 1-inch deficit, stiff leg deadlift from the floor. Do all of these, because then it will tie in to the main movement, which is the deadlift from the floor. Don't get married to just doing one deadlift variation for the rest of your life. It's not going to lead to you actualizing your ultimate potential. If we're looking at quads, then we've got to talk about squats. And one of the ratios I have for the deadlift is with the front squat. I love the front squat because it's anterior loaded, and so many people miss out on easy gains by avoiding front squats because they think they don't have the mobility to do it. But the ratio I use with my athletes is to keep your front squat around 68% of your deadlift. If you're hitting this ratio, you're laughing and you'll be able to move forward quite comfortably with the deadlift. If you're not, you've got to add front squats back in. If you want the ultimate transfer from front squats to deadlifts, do the dead front squat, which is a concentric first. You start at the bottom, then you front squat up, then you control down. When I say start at the bottom, the bar needs to start on safeties. This mimics the deadlift because the deadlift is concentric first. And obviously we've changed the front squat and anterior loaded movement to concentric first as well. It gives me great transfer with my athletes when I use this movement. You can use it heavy on your neural days, or you can use it lighter for your speed days against accommodating resistance like bands. When you do it against bands, it will be lighter at the bottom, heavier at the top, and that allows you to work speed strength, but also starting and acceleration strength, which again are important strength qualities that transfer to the deadlift. The last most bang for your buck movement for your quad that I prescribe for my athletes is the barbell hack squat. It is not the one that you saw, I think his name's Hackenschmidt, do many years ago when he has his heels on the floor. When you have your heels on the floor, none of you have the ankle mobility to keep your torso upright. An upright torso means your knees travel further. So what I recommend and prescribe is raising your heels 4 to 6 inches on a platform, keeping your feet shoulder width or narrow, which means your torso is bolt upright. Even 1 degree forward, you're doing the movement wrong, you're probably loading it too heavy. So it's not a heavy movement. If you're writing in that you're doing 100 kilos, I know you're doing it wrong and your heels are probably on the floor and you're probably rounded at the back and look like a dog taking a shit. We want an extended spine, chest up, knees traveling as far past the toes as we can. It'll be less weight, but because the knees are traveling further, it'll be a much more tension on your quads. If you build that lift up, I promise you it will transfer in strongman to all of your movement events, all of your leg drive, but also to your weak quads in your deadlift, and eventually your deadlift will start to improve.